Hi everyone, welcome to English 233. I might also have posted this video to another literature survey class, 213 World Literature, because I sometimes teach that class, but the basics of both of those classes are the same. So I'm hoping this general information and introduction will serve students in either one of those classes. I am Dr. Byars-Nichols, and I have been teaching at Mount Olive for about 7 years. Before that, I taught at NC State. I'm also the English department chair in the Department of English here, and I teach both traditional classes and traditional students here at the Mount Olive campus, as well as students taking online classes as well, and I really enjoy both of those experiences. If you are new to online learning, I would love to help figure out the best way for you to manage the coursework. It is different taking a class online. I think the most important thing for you to kind of be warned about if this is new for you is that there's a lot more self-direction that the student has to do and have, just because I'm not, in your face at a regular time and a regular day every week. So figuring out what the requirements are in the class early and setting a schedule for yourself is the best advice I can give folks. In order to help do that, I do organize the class like a Tuesday, Thursday class, so that there is some regularity to it, and so that my hope is that students start to kind of think about the class as something that does meet regularly. But I don't expect you to, and I actually can't even require you to show up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That is when assignments are technically due. More about that in a minute. And that's how I pace the reading. Read this by Tuesday, read this by Thursday. I understand that many of you, even if you are a traditional student, you have lots of other stuff going on and you're taking an online class in the hopes that it'll be more flexible with your schedule. So even though I have this Tuesday, Thursday kind of organization for all the reasons I just listed, I do have a policy that I call it a grace period that you have until Sunday or Saturday, depending on what class you're in, of every week to do that work, so that if you need to take the weekend because you work Monday through Friday 9 to 5, you have that ability. What I don't want you to do is get into the habit of thinking that you only need to check in with this class once a week or on the weekends. It is something that we're taking a whole 15-week semester. Sometimes it was a 16-week semester, and compressing it into 8 weeks. You cannot realistically cover that kind of content. That's like double. Each class that we meet is in theory double the content that it would be in a regular 15, 16-week class. So you've got to figure out before classes start next week, or before classes start, what that system is that you're going to have be in place so that you can kind of pace yourself and not have all the reading and all the writing due in the span of just a couple of days a week. I've had students find audio recordings of some of the readings, and that's been helpful for them, both for comprehension and for logistics. You can listen in the car, especially to some of the early American literature texts. It's going to vary depending on what we're reading. And I'm certainly not telling you that to say that you don't need the book. You absolutely need the textbook for this class. It's even more important in an online class that we have a common text. And yes, I do understand that the readings that are in these books, again, especially volume 1, can be found online. But what you can't find is these background readings that our very smart and very well educated editors have compiled for us, that give us some clues and some hints and some suggestions, in addition to some background information about the text that we're about to read. So that's, you know, what's not going to be available online. And as we move into volume 2, those primary texts aren't going to be available online either. If in this first week you are having some textbook drama, I tell students the assignments are still due, but you need to, you need to stay kind of on pace with the rest of the class as much as possible. So do what you can to read, you know, Christopher Columbus letters and John Smith general history online. You can at least respond to some of the writing prompt questions that way and not get behind while you're waiting for your book. You won't be able, obviously, to refer to this reading, but something is better than nothing. And because we move so quickly, no, you cannot wait till week 2 to do week 1 work, because then you're going to be behind on week 2 work. So you can kind of see here, now that I've shared screen, that the pacing is Tuesday, Thursday. Sometimes they are forum posts, as you can see here, and sometimes they are just submit a response. I do use Turnitin for all of the responses. So you can Google little tutorials about Turnitin if that's helpful to you. But the short version is that Turnitin does help me detect plagiarism, but you just need to be thoughtful about the reports that you can see from Turnitin. First of all, wait for the report to be generated and then take a look at that similarity report, is what they call it. It really just finds any lines or words or groups of words that exist online or in other papers or websites. So of course, I ask you in all the responses to refer to the text that you've read. So it's going to find similarity. You're going to have some percentage of similarity in those responses. And that's normal. It highlights what it's found, why it's said your paper is 20% similar to something else. But the most important thing beyond the number is to go to look at the document. And this is useful for whether we're talking about classwork responses or the essays. And if it's highlighting stuff that's not your direct quotations that you're using from the literature, then you need to think long and hard about leaving that document there, because it usually means that you found something online and copied and pasted it in there. This is more of a problem in online classes. Have a bunch of theories about that, but needless to say, it is more common that students go to online sources and copy and paste stuff that they read on various websites. You have a book. I'm not going to discourage you or tell you that you can't use the internet, but I find more often than not it causes more problems than it does serve as a helpful resource. So keep that in mind, that the Turnitin program is linked to all of your written responses, and I want you to use it. I don't want to try to catch you in something. I want you to catch yourself by using that report before I do. You can remove it and if it does show some problems. You can see all the prompts are here, all the reading assignments are here. This is the first time that I've taught this class in a Tuesday, Thursday format. I used to do it in a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so there might be some issues. If you see anything that's confusing or unclear or a mistake, then just let me know. I'm really quick in responding to email. You can also see the two essay prompts, so that you can kind of be thinking about those due dates and be thinking about what text you want to write about for your essays, as well as the final exam prompt. I really do want you to print this out and keep this with your course material, because as we go through these terms, you should be taking notes on each one of them, so that at the end of the semester, you're not struggling to remember when we read about Puritans and Pilgrims and captivity narratives. You'll already have your notes about those terms before you sit down to start thinking about the exam. That seems like a long ways away though. So for now, work on making sure you get your books. They're here on campus if you're nearby. I would think real hard about buying from a third-party seller. I hear so many students tell me ridiculous stories about how sellers tell them they'll be here tomorrow, and so then you don't order another book. Okay, it's going to be here tomorrow, and then it's like, no, the next day, the next day, the next day, and then it's week 2. So be sure if you go to a third-party seller that they have excellent reviews, or that you just think strategically about how to get a hold of these books, because you do have to refer to them very carefully for the whole semester. So, like, for example, don't return volume 1 when we're done with volume 1. You still need it to complete the exam. Had a student do that one time. I think that's all I want to ramble on about. Just as an overview, I will try to post videos throughout the course of the semester, just to give you some additional information in a different way besides in writing, besides email. So I hope that's helpful. Let me turn this back around. If there's any other questions or issues that come up, please just send me an email. And I look forward to seeing you if you want to have a Zoom meeting with me, or talking to you over the phone if you need to, or at the very least reading what your thoughts are about some of the reading that we're doing together this semester. So good luck, and let me know how I can help.